The morning sun was just beginning to rise over the quiet neighborhood when Maria walked through the small iron gate of the large white house. She carried her worn-out bag over her shoulder, filled with cleaning supplies, an old lunchbox, and a small bottle of water. Her steps were steady, her eyes calm but a little tired. She had been coming to this house for almost 2 years now, working 6 days a week as a maid. To most people, she was invisible. To Maria, this was simply life. The air smelled of fresh flowers and the sound of birds made the morning peaceful. She liked these small moments before the day began, before anyone else in the house was awake. The house belonged to the Cruz family, a rich couple with one teenage daughter named Elena. They were kind enough, though distant, always busy with their own world. Maria had her own small space in the back area of the house, a tiny room with just a bed and a window. It wasn't much, but it was a safe place to rest. She quietly unlocked the kitchen door and went inside. The kitchen was spotless, just as she had left it the night before. She took a deep breath and began her daily routine, sweeping, dusting, and wiping down the counters. Every movement came naturally, her body remembering what needed to be done. She didn't need to think about it anymore. It was a rhythm she had learned through years of work, but as she cleaned, she softly hummed a tune. Her voice was gentle, not too loud, just enough to fill the empty space around her. She didn't even realize she was doing it sometimes. It was her way of staying company to herself. The songs came from deep within her memory, songs her mother used to sing while cooking or washing clothes back in the village. Music was her hidden comfort, a secret only the walls and the wind knew. Maria had loved music since she was a little girl. When she was young, she would sneak out to watch small singing contests in the town plaza. She used to dream of standing on that small stage, holding a microphone, singing from her heart, but life had other plans. Her father fell ill when she was 16, and she had to leave school to work. She found small jobs here and there until she finally became a maid. The dream slowly faded away, hidden behind years of hard work and tired nights. Still, the music never really left her. It lived quietly inside her heart. By the time the Cruz family woke up, the house was already shining. Maria prepared breakfast, eggs, toast, fresh fruit, and coffee. Mrs. Cruz came into the kitchen, still in her robe, scrolling through her phone. She nodded politely at Maria but didn't say much. Mr. Cruz followed, reading his newspaper. Elena came last, wearing her school uniform, earphones plugged in, music playing loud enough for Maria to hear the beat. Maria smiled at her. "Good morning, Miss Elena." Elena smiled back faintly. "Morning, Maria." It was always like that, polite but distant. Elena was friendly but busy with her studies and friends. Maria often saw her rushing out with her school bag full of energy, full of dreams. Sometimes Maria wondered what it would have been like if she had been able to finish school too. Maybe she would have had a life like Elena's, full of choices and possibilities. After breakfast, Maria cleaned up the table and washed the dishes. She liked the sound of running water. It reminded her of a small stream near her childhood home. While scrubbing a plate, she began to hum again, her voice blending with the soft sound of water. It was a habit she never could break. That afternoon, after finishing most of her work, Maria went to the small garden behind the house to hang the laundry. The air smelled of soap and sunlight. As she pinned the clothes, she began to sing. Not just hum, but truly sing. Her voice rose slowly, pure and strong, carrying emotion in every note. She sang about longing and hope, about the feeling of being small in a big world but still holding on to dreams. She thought she was alone, but she wasn't. Elena had come home early from school. She had gone to her room upstairs and opened her window. That's when she heard it, a voice unlike anything she had ever heard before. It was warm and full of life, not trained like the singers she listened to online, but real, raw, and emotional. She froze, leaning closer to the window, trying to see where it came from. And there was Maria, the quiet maid, singing with her eyes closed and her heart wide open. Elena couldn't believe it. The woman she saw sweeping the floor and folding clothes every day had a voice that could fill an entire hall. For a few minutes, Elena didn't move. She just listened. When Maria stopped singing, Elena clapped softly from the window. Startled, Maria turned around, her face turning red. "Oh, Miss Elena, I'm sorry," Maria said quickly, lowering her head. "I didn't know you were home." Elena smiled. "That was amazing, Maria. I didn't know you could sing like that." Maria shook her head, embarrassed. It's nothing, miss. Just an old habit. Nothing? That was beautiful, Elena said with genuine excitement. You should sing more often. Maria forced a small smile. Thank you, but I just sing for myself. It's not for others to hear. Elena wanted to say more, but she could see Maria's shy face, so she didn't push. All right, she said softly. But if you ever sing again, please don't hide it. Then she left the window, leaving Maria alone again in the garden. Maria's heart was beating fast. She hadn't sung like that in front of anyone in years. It made her feel both happy and nervous. She sat on the small wooden bench near the laundry line and looked up at the sky. For a moment, she let herself remember what it felt like to be young and full of dreams. Maybe, just maybe, there was still a small part of that girl left inside her. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Maria sat by her small window in her room. The moonlight came through the curtains, falling gently on her face. She held a small notebook in her hand, an old one she kept hidden in her bag. Inside it were pages filled with lyrics she had written over the years. Some were unfinished. Some were just lines she had scribbled after a long day. She smiled faintly as she turned the pages. It was like looking at pieces of her heart scattered through time. She whispered to herself, maybe dreams don't really die. Maybe they just sleep. The next morning, she woke up early again. The world outside was still dark. As she made coffee, she softly sang the same song from yesterday. This time she didn't stop herself. She didn't know that Elena, lying in bed upstairs, could hear her again through the quiet house. Elena smiled under her blanket, listening as Maria's soft voice filled the early dawn. It felt peaceful, almost magical. From that day on, something in the air of the house began to change. It wasn't just the smell of food or the shine of clean floors anymore. It was something deeper, something warm and alive. Maria didn't know it yet, but her quiet voice had begun to touch hearts. The walls that once heard silence now carried songs, and the girl who thought she had lost her dream was unknowingly waking it again. Maria's life was still simple. She still worked hard, still followed her routine, still lived humbly, but now, every time she sang, even softly, it carried a little more meaning. She didn't realize that a new chapter of her life was slowly opening, one note at a time. Days passed quietly after that afternoon in the garden, but something had changed between Maria and Elena. It wasn't big or obvious, just small things. The way Elena smiled more warmly now when she saw Maria. The way Maria hesitated less when speaking to her. There was a new kind of understanding between them, born out of one song and a voice that neither of them could forget. Maria still did her daily chores as usual. She woke early, cleaned the rooms, washed the clothes, and cooked the meals. But inside her she carried a little spark, a light she hadn't felt in years. Sometimes, when she was alone, she would catch herself smiling for no reason. It was strange but comforting. She didn't want to admit it, but she felt happy that someone had heard her sing and liked it. One afternoon, as Maria polished the wooden furniture in the living room, she heard the soft sound of a guitar. It was coming from upstairs. Curious, she paused for a moment and listened. The sound was calm, sweet, and a little clumsy, someone learning to play. After a few minutes, the music stopped and she went back to work. Later, she discovered it was Elena practicing. That made Maria smile again. The next morning, when Elena came into the kitchen for breakfast, she looked cheerful. Maria, she said, can you help me with something later? Maria turned from the stove. Of course, miss. What do you need? I'm practicing a song for my school project, Elena explained. I have to perform it in front of my class, but I'm not very good at singing. Maybe you could help me a little? Maria's eyes widened slightly. Me? Oh no, I don't think I can. Please, Elena said gently. Just a few minutes. You sing beautifully. I promise I won't tell anyone. Maria hesitated. She had never taught anyone before, and the thought of singing again in front of someone made her heart race. But there was something in Elena's eyes, kindness and trust, that made her say yes. After finishing her chores that day, Maria went to Elena's room. It was bright and full of posters, books, and music sheets scattered everywhere. Elena sat with her guitar, looking nervous but excited. Thank you for helping me, she said. Maria smiled shyly. It's all right, miss. What song are you singing? Elena showed her the lyrics and started playing the guitar. Her voice was soft but unsure, her timing a little off. When she finished, she looked at Maria and laughed. See? I told you I'm not good, Maria chuckled softly. You're not bad, miss. You just need to feel the song, not just sing it. It's like telling a story. Elena tilted her head. Telling a story? Yes, Maria said, her tone thoughtful. Every song has a feeling, love, sadness, hope, or joy. You don't need a perfect voice to make people listen. You just need to mean every word. Elena looked at her with admiration. That's beautiful, Maria. They practiced together for almost an hour. Maria sang a few lines to show how to match the rhythm, and Elena followed. Slowly, the girl's voice began to sound more natural, more alive. They laughed when they got the words wrong and clapped when they finally got a verse right. For a moment, they weren't a maid and her employer's daughter. They were just two people who loved music. As they practiced, Elena secretly turned on her phone's voice recorder. She wanted to capture Maria's voice again, not to share it, but just to keep it. She felt something special about Maria, a sense of purity and strength that was rare. Maria sang like she had lived every word. When they finished, Maria stood up quickly. That's enough for today, miss. I should get back to work. Elena nodded, smiling. Thank you, Maria. You helped me more than you know. That night, Elena played back the recording. As Maria's voice filled her room, she felt tears in her eyes. The world had to hear that voice. It wasn't fair for it to stay hidden behind walls and cleaning duties. But she also remembered Maria's shy reaction the last time, so she didn't dare post anything. Not yet. A week later, Elena had her school performance. Maria was in the kitchen that afternoon waiting for her to return. She prayed silently that the girl's performance went well. When Elena came home, she was glowing. Maria, I did it, she said, running into the kitchen. Everyone loved it. The teacher said my singing sounded so natural. That's all because of you. Maria smiled, feeling proud. I'm happy to hear that, miss. You worked hard, Elena grinned. You should have been there. You would have been proud too. Maria's heart warmed at those words. I already am, she said softly. As days went by, Maria and Elena grew closer. They often talked in the evenings when Maria finished her chores. Sometimes about music, sometimes about life. Maria told small pieces of her story, about the small village she came from, her family, and how she once sang at small-town festivals before life got difficult. Elena listened closely, fascinated by every word. She couldn't believe how strong Maria was, carrying so much responsibility and still keeping kindness in her heart. One afternoon, while Maria was cleaning the hallway, she heard laughter coming from Elena's room. Curious, she walked by and noticed a few of Elena's friends sitting on the bed. They were listening to music, and suddenly Maria froze. It was her voice. Elena had played one of her recordings for her friends. Maria's heart pounded. She quickly stepped back, not wanting to be seen. The sound of her singing echoed softly through the hallway. She didn't know whether to feel flattered or frightened. What if they told someone? What if the family got angry? She spent the rest of the day quiet and distracted. Later that night, Elena found Maria sitting by the kitchen window. Maria, she said softly, are you upset? Maria looked down. I heard you playing that recording, miss. Please don't show my singing to anyone. I could get in trouble. Elena looked guilty. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. My friends just wanted to hear it. They loved it. It's not about them liking it, Maria said gently. It's just my voice, my songs, they're a part of me. I keep them private because the world can be cruel sometimes. People look at me and see a maid, not a singer. Elena nodded slowly. You're right. But maybe they should see more than that. Maria smiled faintly. Maybe. But not like this. They sat in silence for a moment, only the sound of the ticking clock between them. Then Elena said, I promise I won't share it again without your permission. Maria looked at her with gratitude. Thank you, miss. You're very kind. After that night, things returned to normal, but Elena couldn't forget what Maria said. People look at me and see a maid, not a singer. The words stayed with her, echoing in her mind. She thought about how unfair it was that someone with so much talent had to hide it, just because of her job or background. The next weekend, Elena was in her room editing a short video for school. On a sudden impulse, she added the audio of Maria singing quietly in the garden. She didn't post it, not yet, but she looked at it again and again. The video felt powerful, emotional, and real. She wondered what would happen if the world heard that voice. Would they see Maria differently? Or would they judge her just the same? Meanwhile, Maria continued her routine. unaware of the thoughts swirling in Elena's mind. She woke early, worked hard, and sometimes when the house was empty, she sang softly again. The walls knew her secret. The songs carried her through the long hours, giving her a little piece of happiness she couldn't find anywhere else. But things were slowly changing. The quiet bond between her and Elena had started something neither of them expected. It was a connection built on respect, kindness, and music. A connection that was about to change both their lives in ways they couldn't yet imagine. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Maria sat in the garden with her old notebook, writing a few lines of a new song. She didn't notice Elena standing at the window watching her with admiration. The soft golden light fell on Maria's face, and for a brief moment, she looked like someone who belonged on a stage, not behind a mop and broom. Elena whispered to herself, "The world needs to hear her." And with that quiet thought, something began to grow. An idea, a plan, a promise she would soon find impossible to keep. A few days later, the rain started early in the morning. The sky was gray and the air smelled of wet soil. Maria walked quickly through the front gate, holding an old umbrella that barely kept her dry. Her shoes were soaked, but she didn't mind. She had walked in worse weather before. The house was quiet when she entered. The Cruz family had gone on a short weekend trip, leaving only Elena behind to study. That meant Maria could work without hurry and maybe rest for a while too. She changed into her work clothes and began cleaning the house. The rain tapped gently against the windows and the sound felt peaceful. After finishing the kitchen, she went to dust the living room. It was full of books, pictures, and small decorations. She carefully wiped each one, humming softly as she worked. The sound of her humming mixed with the rain, turning the quiet house into something almost magical. Upstairs, Elena sat in her room trying to study, but her mind wasn't on her books. The thought that had been growing inside her for days wouldn't go away. Every time she remembered Maria's voice, she felt something stir inside her. Admiration, inspiration, maybe even guilt. She knew she had promised not to share the recordings, but part of her believed the world needed to hear that voice. Maria's songs could give hope to people who had none. They could touch hearts just as they had touched hers. Elena looked at her phone again. The recording of Maria singing in the garden was still there. She had even edited it into a short video, simple, with soft background music and a picture of the morning sky. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. It was meant to celebrate beauty in unexpected places, but she still hesitated. Downstairs, Maria finished cleaning and sat near the kitchen window to eat her lunch. She opened her small lunchbox, rice, vegetables, and a piece of fried fish. As she ate, she watched the rain fall. It reminded her of her old home in the province, where rain used to bring her family together. Her mother would cook soup and they would all sing while waiting for the storm to pass. Those were good days, simple, happy, and full of love. Maria sighed. She missed those times, but she was thankful to have work now. She knew many didn't. After lunch, she cleaned up and began washing clothes. As she worked, she sang softly to herself. The song was one she had written long ago. A song about hope and faith, about believing that even in hard times, light would find its way back. Her voice filled the quiet spaces of the house. It wasn't loud or proud, just gentle and real. Unknowingly, her song reached Elena, who had gone downstairs to get a drink. Elena stopped halfway down the stairs and listened. Her eyes softened, and without thinking, she took out her phone again. She pressed record. This time she wanted to capture not just the voice, but the feeling that came with it. When Maria finished, she turned around and saw Elena standing there. "Oh," she said, startled. "Miss Elena, I didn't know you were there." Elena smiled softly. "You were singing again. It was beautiful." Maria looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you." "You didn't," Elena said quickly. "I could listen to you all day. You should sing for people, Maria, not just for yourself." Maria shook her head gently. "No, miss. People like me don't sing for the world. The world doesn't listen to voices like mine." Elena frowned. "That's not true. Your voice could change how people think." "It changed how I think." Maria smiled faintly but didn't answer. She picked up the basket of clothes and walked toward the back door to hang them. Elena stood there, feeling torn between respect for Maria's wishes and her own belief that the world needed to know this woman's gift. Later that evening, Maria prepared dinner for both of them. Since the family was away, they ate together in the kitchen instead of separately. The rain had stopped and the night was calm. They talked about small things, food, music, and family. Maria told stories about her childhood, how she used to sing at the town plaza for fun, and how her father once told her she had a voice that could heal people's hearts. Her eyes shone softly as she spoke, full of memories and quiet pride. You know, Elena said after a while, I think your father was right. Maria looked at her curiously. About what? That your voice could heal people, Elena said. It healed me a little. Maria didn't know what to say. She smiled shyly, touched by the kind words. You're very sweet, miss. That night when Maria went to her room to rest, Elena stayed up late. She kept thinking about what Maria said, that people like her didn't get heard. That felt wrong to Elena. She believed everyone deserved a chance to be seen for who they truly were. So as the clock ticked past midnight, she opened her phone and looked at the video again. Her heart raced. She knew she was breaking her promise, but something inside her told her she had to do it. She uploaded the video. She didn't use Maria's name, only the caption. A voice from the heart. Sometimes beauty hides in unexpected places. Then she set the video to public and went to sleep, not realizing how much everything would change by morning. When Maria woke up the next day, she followed her usual routine. She swept the front porch, watered the plants, and started breakfast. Everything felt normal, quiet, peaceful, ordinary. But by mid-morning, the phone in the living room wouldn't stop ringing. Elena ran downstairs, still in her pajamas, holding her own phone tightly. Maria, she said breathlessly. You need to see this. Maria looked confused. What is it, miss? Elena showed her the screen. It was the video she had uploaded, the one of Maria singing. But now it had thousands of views. Comments filled the screen. Who is she? His voice gave me chills. So much emotion. She deserves a stage. Maria's hand shook. What is this? She whispered. Elena bit her lip. I uploaded the video last night. I'm sorry, Maria. I wanted people to hear you. Maria stepped back, her face pale. You promised me you wouldn't. I know, and I'm sorry, Elena said quickly. But please look. People love your voice. They're not laughing. They're amazed. Maria didn't know what to feel. Her heart raced between fear and disbelief. She had spent her whole life trying to stay unnoticed. And now strangers from all over were listening to her. What if my employers see this? What if they fire me? She asked quietly. They won't, Elena said softly. I'll tell them it was my fault. You didn't do anything wrong. But Maria couldn't calm down. She went back to her room, closed the door, and sat on her bed. Her old notebook lay on the table, open to a half-finished song. She stared at it, feeling tears in her eyes. She had always dreamed of singing for people, but not like this. Not without choosing it herself. Hours later, she heard a knock. Maria, please, Elena said from outside the door. I didn't mean to hurt you. Maria opened the door slowly. Her eyes were red but calm. I know you didn't mean harm, miss. You just didn't understand what it means to be someone like me. When you come from where I come from, people don't always listen with kindness. Elena looked down. I understand now. I really do. I'm sorry, Maria sighed softly. It's done now. We can't take it back. That evening, while Maria cooked dinner, her phone buzzed with messages from friends she hadn't spoken to in years. Some had seen the video and recognized her. Is that really you? They asked. You're amazing. Maria didn't know how to reply. Her world felt upside down. The next day, the Cruz family returned from their trip. Mrs. Cruz called Maria into the living room. Maria, she said gently, I saw something online. Is that you singing? Maria froze, unsure how to answer. Yes, ma'am. I didn't post it. Miss Elena did. To her surprise, Mrs. Cruz didn't look angry. She smiled instead. You have a beautiful voice. Why didn't you tell us? Maria looked down. It never seemed important, ma'am. I just sing for myself. Mr. Cruz chuckled softly. Well, the internet seems to disagree. People love you. Maria didn't know what to say. She was relieved they weren't upset, but still overwhelmed. That night, after everyone went to bed, she checked her phone again. The video now had hundreds of thousands of views. Reporters were asking for interviews. Local radio shows wanted to find her. She felt dizzy reading all the messages. Her quiet world had suddenly become very loud. She sat by her window, the cool night air brushing her face. Her heart was full of mixed emotions, fear, surprise, pride, and confusion. She whispered to herself, "What happens now?" Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars. Maria didn't know it yet, but her life had changed forever. The world had finally heard the voice she had kept hidden for so long. The following days felt like a dream Maria couldn't wake up from. Every time she looked at her phone, there were new messages, new comments, and more people talking about her voice. She didn't even know what to feel anymore. Some messages were kind and full of praise, but others were curious, asking who she really was and why a maid was singing. The attention made her nervous. She had never wanted to be the center of anything. She only wanted peace. At first, she tried to ignore it. She continued with her daily routine, cleaning, cooking, and helping around the house, pretending that nothing had changed. But everything around her felt different. Even the neighbors had started whispering. When she went to the store, people looked at her with recognition. Some smiled, some stared. A few even asked for a picture. Maria didn't know how to react. She was shy and polite, but deep down she felt scared. Elena, on the other hand, couldn't hide her excitement. "Maria, you're famous," she said one morning, showing her the latest video views. "Look, people are writing articles about you. Some radio stations are even asking for interviews." Maria frowned. "I don't want to be famous, miss. I just want to work and live quietly." "But you don't understand," Elena said softly. "This is your chance. People are finally seeing who you really are," Maria sighed. "Or maybe they're just seeing a story to talk about. When they get bored, they'll move on." Elena didn't know how to answer. She wanted Maria to be happy, but she also knew that Maria's fear came from years of being ignored and underestimated. It wasn't easy to believe in kindness when life had often been cruel. That afternoon, a reporter came to the gate, asking to speak with Maria. "Just a few questions," he said politely. "People want to know the woman behind the voice." Maria panicked and ran inside. "I can't talk to them," she said. "Please tell them to go." Mrs. Cruz came out and spoke with the reporter instead. She handled it kindly, saying Maria didn't want attention. But the next day another reporter came, then another. Soon people started leaving gifts at the gate. Flowers, cards, even small letters. Some were from strangers who said her voice gave them hope. Others came from people who had once been poor like her, and now saw her as an inspiration. Maria didn't know what to do with all of it. The attention was too much. She felt grateful but also trapped. Every time her phone buzzed, her stomach twisted with worry. What if something bad happened? What if people started judging her for her past? One evening, while washing dishes, Maria spoke quietly. "Miss Elena," she said, "do you think I did something wrong?" Elena looked surprised. "Wrong? No, Maria, why would you think that?" Maria shrugged slightly. "I don't know. It feels strange. People are talking about me like I'm someone special, but I'm not. I'm just a maid who likes to sing." Elena smiled gently. "That's exactly why people love you. Because you're real. You're not pretending to be someone else." Maria stayed quiet, thinking about her words. Maybe that was true, but it still didn't make her comfortable. Fame was something she never wanted. She had seen how quickly people could change when someone became popular. They could lift you up one day and tear you down the next. That night she called her mother in the province. "Mama," she said softly, "something happened." She explained everything. The video, the views, the reporters, the sudden fame. Her mother was quiet for a while. Then she said, "My child, your voice has always been a gift. Maybe this is God's way of reminding you of your dream. Don't be afraid of it. Just stay humble." Maria wiped a tear from her eye. "I don't want to forget who I am, Mama." "You won't," her mother said. "The world may see you now, but you know where you came from. That's what matters." The next morning, Maria felt a little lighter. She decided to face things calmly. If this attention was part of her journey, she would try to handle it with grace. She went to work as usual, humming softly while sweeping the floor. But even that small act didn't go unnoticed. Elena recorded a short clip, just a few seconds of Maria humming while cleaning, and posted it again, this time with Maria's permission. The video went viral again. People wrote comments like, "She's not just singing, she's living her music," and "This woman is proof that talent can come from anywhere." Soon, Maria received a message from a local community center. They wanted her to sing at their charity event. "It's for a good cause," the message said. "You would inspire so many." Maria hesitated for days. She had never sung in front of a crowd since she was a teenager. The thought terrified her. What if she made mistakes? What if people laughed? Elena encouraged her. You should do it, Maria. I'll be there with you. Mrs. Cruz also supported her. We'll help with whatever you need. Don't worry, finally Maria agreed. Just one song, she said nervously. After that I go back to my work. The evening of the event came faster than she expected. Maria stood backstage, her hands shaking. She wore a simple blue dress borrowed from Elena. The room was filled with people, families, students, and a few local reporters. As she waited for her turn, she could feel her heart pounding so loud she thought everyone could hear it. Elena squeezed her hand. You can do this. Just sing like you're in the garden. Maria nodded weakly. When her name was called, she stepped onto the stage. The bright lights made it hard to see the audience. For a moment, fear froze her, but then she took a deep breath and remembered her mother's words. Your voice is a gift. She began to sing. The first notes were soft, trembling, but pure. Slowly, her voice grew stronger. The melody flowed like water, gentle, warm, and full of emotion. The room went silent. People stopped whispering and just listened. Some closed their eyes. Some wiped away tears. By the time she reached the last line, the entire crowd stood and clapped. The sound filled the hall like thunder. Maria stood there, stunned. She had never heard applause like that before. Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in her life, she wasn't invisible. The world had seen her, not as a maid, not as someone ordinary, but as a person with something to share. After the event, people came up to her with kind words. Some asked for pictures, others simply thanked her for singing. Maria smiled shyly, overwhelmed by the kindness. She didn't know how to react except to say thank you. That night, when they returned home, Elena hugged her. You were amazing. Everyone loved you. Maria laughed softly. I was so scared. My legs were shaking. Maybe, Elena said, but you looked like you belonged there. Maria thought about that long after Elena went to bed. She sat by her window again, looking at the stars. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a different life. One where she could sing not just for herself, but for others too. It felt strange, but also right. Over the next few days, the news of her performance spread online. People called her the maid with the golden voice. Local radio stations started playing clips of her song. Small businesses even invited her to sing at their events. Maria politely declined most of them, saying she wasn't ready. But deep down, she knew that something had changed forever. One afternoon, while she was in the garden hanging laundry, Mrs. Cruz approached her. Maria, she said, a music producer saw your video. He's interested in meeting you. Maria's heart skipped a beat. A producer? She repeated. Yes, Mrs. Cruz said kindly. He wants to talk about recording your songs. No pressure, of course. Maria didn't answer right away. She stared at the sky, her mind spinning. She had never even imagined such a thing. Could it really be happening? I don't know if I'm ready, she said finally. Mrs. Cruz smiled. Take your time. Just know that you deserve this chance. That night, Maria opened her old notebook again. She read the lyrics she had written years ago, words about dreams, love, and courage. She added a new line at the end. Maybe dreams don't die. Maybe they just wait for the right moment. As she closed the notebook, she felt peace. Whatever came next, she would face it with humility and heart. She was still the same Maria, still the same girl who sang to herself while cleaning floors. Only now the world was listening. After the festival, Maria's life changed in ways she never imagined. The performance had touched so many people that her story was soon featured on local news. They called her the woman with a voice of hope. Invitations started pouring in from radio shows, charity events, and even small music programs. It all felt surreal. Maria, who once sang quietly while cleaning, was now being asked to sing on real stages. But along with the excitement came confusion. She had never handled fame before. Every decision felt heavy. Should she continue working as a maid or focus on music? What if this was all temporary, just another passing story? She didn't want to lose her sense of self. Fame could disappear as quickly as it appeared, and she didn't want to forget the woman she had always been. Mrs. Cruz noticed her worry. You don't have to rush, Maria, she said gently one morning. Your talent isn't going anywhere. Take it one step at a time. Maria nodded, but deep down she was torn. She didn't want to disappoint the people who had supported her, but she also didn't want to change too fast. She liked the quiet life, the familiar routine of simple work and music in the background. One afternoon, she sat in the garden with Elena. The air was soft, and the birds were singing. "Do you think it's wrong to want both things?" Maria asked. "To keep working here and also sing when I can?" Elena smiled. "Why would that be wrong?" "You don't have to choose one dream over another. You just have to stay true to yourself." Maria thought about it for a moment. Maybe Elena was right. Maybe she could keep her feet on the ground while still reaching for something new. A few days later, Mr. Rivera called her again. "Maria, a music foundation wants to sponsor your first album," he said. "They believe your songs can inspire people who have lost hope." Maria was speechless. "An album? That sounds too big for me." Mr. Rivera chuckled softly. "Not too big, just the right size for your heart. You don't have to rush. We'll take it slow, song by song." It took her several days to say yes. When she finally did, she promised herself that no matter what happened, she would stay humble. She still cleaned, cooked, and helped around the house as before. But every weekend she went to the studio to record. The songs she created weren't about fame or glory. They were about life. About working people, about quiet dreams, about finding light in small things. The album took 3 months to finish. Each song felt like a piece of her heart. When it was finally released, people loved it. They said her music made them feel comforted and understood. Some even sent letters saying her voice helped them through hard days. Maria couldn't believe it. She often cried while reading those letters. "I never thought my singing could touch people like this," she told Mr. Rivera one day. "I only wanted to sing because it made me feel alive." "That's why it works," he said. "You sing with truth." Her songs began to spread beyond her town. Soon she was invited to perform in nearby cities. The first time she traveled outside her province, she felt nervous and excited. The hotel room, the stage lights, the cheering crowd, everything was new. But the moment she started singing, all her fears disappeared. She wasn't performing for fame. She was sharing her heart. Each performance made her stronger. She learned how to handle the stage, how to talk to people, how to believe in herself. Yet she never lost her simplicity. After every show, she would go home, remove her makeup, and help Mrs. Cruz with the dishes. "Fame is strange," she once said with a smile. "It's loud outside, but quiet inside." One evening, she received an unexpected call. It was from a national television show. They wanted to feature her as part of a series about people who achieved their dreams despite hardship. "We want to show the country your journey," the producer said. Maria's first thought was to say no. She didn't want her private life to be displayed for everyone. But after talking with Mrs. Cruz and Mr. Rivera, she agreed. Not for herself, but for others who might find hope in her story. The filming took a few days. The crew visited her workplace, recorded her singing in the garden, and interviewed her family back home. Her mother cried on camera, saying, "I always told her to never stop singing. I'm so proud of my daughter." When the episode aired, it reached millions of viewers. People were moved by her humility and perseverance. Messages flooded in, from young students, single parents, workers, and even other maids. They all said the same thing. Her story gave them courage. Maria felt overwhelmed but grateful. She realized her music wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to everyone who believed in second chances. Months passed, and her life found a new rhythm. She continued performing but always made time for her simple joys. Tending the garden, reading letters from fans, and singing at local events for free. Her heart remained grounded in kindness. One day she received a letter that touched her deeply. It came from a young girl in a nearby village. The letter read, "Dear Maria, I used to hide my voice because people laughed at me. But when I saw you on TV, I decided to sing again. I want to be like you, brave, humble, and true. Thank you for showing me that dreams don't have limits." Maria held the letter close to her heart. It reminded her why she had started this journey. Not for fame, but to share something real. That night, she sat by the window looking up at the stars. She whispered, "If my voice can give someone hope, that's all I ever wanted." A few months later, she was invited to perform at a big charity concert in the capital. It was the biggest stage she had ever seen. Thousands of people, bright lights, cameras everywhere. As she stood backstage, she thought about the young girl's letter, her mother's words, and all the people who had believed in her. Her hands trembled, but her heart was steady. When her turn came, she walked onto the stage. The lights felt warm on her face. The crowd grew silent as the music began. She sang a new song she had written herself, a song about rising after falling, about faith, and about never giving up. Her voice carried through the hall, soft but powerful. The audience was completely silent until the last note faded. Then a wave of applause filled the air. People stood, clapping and cheering. Some were crying. Maria bowed deeply, tears running down her cheeks. She had never felt such peace. After the show, a journalist asked her, "Maria, what message would you like to give to the world?" She thought for a moment, then said softly, "That dreams are not just for the rich or famous. Sometimes they hide in simple hearts waiting for courage. I was just a maid who loved to sing. But music found me and gave me a voice, not for myself but for others." Her words were printed everywhere the next day. People shared them online with messages of love and admiration. Maria became a symbol of hope for many, proof that no one is too small to make a difference. But through it all, she never let pride take over. She continued to live simply, helping those around her. She even started a small project with Mr. Rivera to help children from poor families learn music. "Every child deserves to find their own song," she said. Years passed and Maria's music continued to inspire. Her fame never turned into vanity. She always remembered the girl she once was, cleaning floors, singing quietly to herself, dreaming of something more. Her story became a reminder to everyone that greatness doesn't come from where you start, but from how true you stay to your heart. On a quiet evening, long after the lights and cameras had faded, Maria sat again by her window watching the sunset. She held her old notebook, the one filled with her earliest songs. The pages were worn, but the words still carried the same warmth. She smiled and whispered to herself, "I didn't find music. It found me." As the sky turned golden, her voice floated softly into the air. A song not for fame, not for applause, but for peace. The same voice that once echoed in the shadows now lived in the hearts of millions. And though her journey had started in silence, it ended in harmony. A quiet, beautiful melody that would never fade away.